for another one of our Clear Insight webinars in a variety of series in which we do run webinars. This one, of course, specifically in the series for folks who are on Clarity7 and to our Clarity7 client base. And so we're glad to have each one of you who have come on and joined the webinar for us today. Some names I recognize, some I don't recognize, and we're glad to have each one of you come along. So we've got a number of things on our agenda lined up for today, and hopefully they're all applicable to you, each as existing Clarity clients. So the hosts for today are, now my screen is, hopefully you're seeing my screen now. You're seeing my new screen on who the hosts are for today. Myself, Ian Margerison, Business Development with Clear Insight. Bob Gill, who's one of our lead architects in professional services, is joining me today and will be available for questions, and will be taking the lead in the live demo portion of the webinar today. Susan Malik is also online, President of Clear Insight, and Susan will be helping us with the Q&A and a poll that we have later in the webinar. On that point, of course, we want to make this as valuable as possible for each one of you, so please don't hesitate to put any questions into the chat window. You should see a chat window on the right-hand side. Just fire your questions into there. Susan will pick those up, and at the Q&A at the end, we'll address those questions. But as you think of them, fire them in. That way you won't forget them as we move along. So that's a few of the key introductory points. So our agenda for today, we are just intro and overview about the website, or sorry, webinar, and about Clear Insight. For some of you who may not know who we are, we're going to talk for a few minutes about the Clarity7 releases outlook status, kind of where we are, state of the nation with Clarity7. Then we're going to spend the majority of the time on an overview of the very strategic Cognos options related to the upgrade opportunities from Clarity7 and what your options are. In addition, we're going to talk about some specific incentives that are available to you to support the upgrade process. Then we're going to move into a demo and next steps and Q&A. And that's kind of the plan for today. And we look forward to this being of value to you. So for some of you who may not be aware of Clear Insights, just very quickly, we are IBM Business Partner, supporting clients in the US and in Canada. We actually have a little bit of support beyond into the Caribbean as well. And basically, we are focused on the Office of Finance, first of all, and we help drive better outcomes for the Office of Finance. You all are very busy with limited capacity. And so our role in working with our clients is to take that capacity that you have and maximize the efficiency of your day-to-day tasks so that you're doing things better, faster, with more confidence, and with better outcomes. And we're going to do that with one of the 5 items shown in this little slide here. Of course, financial performance management, that's where Clarity7 fits, and Cognos TM1 and some of the other solutions. Once you've got your house in order there, we're able to help you with business intelligence reporting and analytics, financial governance and disclosure on things like financial statement reporting and Cognos disclosure management, and then ultimately into the predictive and governance areas are the areas of expertise in which we help our clients. And if we are not helping you in any of those areas, we would love to be doing that. And certainly as it relates to the Clarity product and current support and or next steps for you with Clarity. So we do that in with budgeting, planning, and forecasting, and simplify and integrate that with the solutions we've talked about, financial statement reporting, and with business intelligence. Some of our clients, just a little list to give you an idea of who we work with, a sample of some of the clients around North America, some with Clarity, some with TM1, some with Cognos VI, disclosure management, a variety of those solutions. And ultimately, we're helping our clients where we can so that you're working smarter, not harder, to make your day-to-day life a lot better and more efficient than you are perhaps used to at the moment. Our clients are happy clients, and we're very happy with that. That's what gives us joy in doing what we do. And so when we work with our folks, it's all about making sure your needs are met and that your life is better. Okay, so here we are, Clarity7 now, where we are with the current releases. So there are, just to take a snapshot back to 2011 when really 7.20 was released, and that's kind of the latest, really probably the last version that had any kind of new enhancements of any substantial amount into Clarity. And then in October of 2012, there was FixPack 1. May of 2013, really the last major release. Now, almost 2 years ago, was FixPack 2 for Clarity7 2.1. And back in the middle of last year, there wasn't really a full release, but there was an enhancement done that was put out to support folks on Excel 2013 with Clarity Studio. So some of those may be new or may not be new to you. Interesting enough, I was just looking on the IBM website and noticed that I did find a location where it said FixPack 3 to be released between January and March of this year. To be honest, I haven't heard too much about that. If anybody has heard anything about it, would love to have you speak up and just put your hand up and we can have you speak up later or mention it into the chat. But it was posted that there's a FixPack 3 release in March 2015, which maybe is a consolidation of a number of fixes. There was some patches for security and other things that I know were corrected, and maybe that's going to be a FixPack release to cover that. So keep your eyes on that. And that's really a bit of the state of the nation with Clarity. So we're on to our first, really our one and only poll planned for this webinar. Just make sure you're all still there and following along, and also to help us not waste any time for you on the webinar. So we'd like to know, what version of Clarity7 are you running today? And Susan has just opened up the poll. Easy, pick one of the three answers. Are you on version, any of the version 6s or earlier of Clarity? Are you on to version 7, but only up to 7.2.1, or are you on FixPack 3? And so we'd like to get you to put your answers into that poll. Let us know where you are at, and then we'll open up those polls. Okay, wonderful. I think everybody has entered in there now. Susan, maybe you can show that poll to everybody, and hopefully everybody is seeing that poll. So we do have a bit of a cross-section. 40% of you on the webinar are on version 6 or earlier. 40% of you are on 7 to 7.2.1, and 20% on FixPack 2. So that's very helpful to me. And so we're going to take the next couple of slides and address kind of the state of the nation and kind of your options depending on which version you are at, and kind of look through that. So thank you for that. All right. As we move through now, so for those of you, the 40% on the call, and you're on version 6X or earlier of Clarity, you no doubt will be well aware that December, I believe it was December 2012, if I'm not mistaken, was when version 6X went off support for IBM. So any of you that are on 6X, if you've been trying to call in for support for IBM, you might not have got too warm a welcome over the last while, and I'm sure they have told you, look, if you want to overcome potential issues, problems, compatibility with current browser versions, etc., your answer is not a patch on version 6, it's to upgrade to version 7. So most of the clients that we've come across now who are on version 6, they're on version 6 for the most part without an intent to upgrade to version 7 because of the effort and what's involved in that. But there are still a few who are thinking of doing that, so I'm not sure if you have plans to get to version 7, or you're just kind of maximizing your utility as long as it's working on version 6. which is not a problem, but certainly you do not want to end up in an emergency situation. And that being where your mission-critical planning process grinds to a halt because of some issue with 6, because you're not going to be able to flip over to 7 quick enough if an issue comes up. So you need to be working, and it's great that you're on this call, to put plans in place to decide what your next steps are going to be, and no doubt some of you already know what those plans are and next steps. So bottom line, 6, I know lots who are using it. It's still working for them. They've had to put in different mechanisms to make it still work with browsers, etc. But they're chugging along, but do have plans in place. So if that's you, let's just make sure your plan's in place, and we're happy to talk to you about that. For the other 40% that are on version 7, but not up to FixPack 2, a little brighter news for you, and certainly that is if you're on version 7, it's not as big an issue at all for you to upgrade to the latest FixPack and move on. If you're, no matter what you're on version 7, you would do well to get to the latest version. Now, depending on this announcement of FixPack 3, at this point, you might do well just to wait a month or so and see what happens with FixPack 3, and then we're happy to talk to you. At that point, we'll have access to it, and we'll see what's happening, so you can look at FixPack 3 there. And by all means, put any questions in about that as you're going through that. So it's an easy upgrade to get there, but you're still going to want to think about strategic next steps for Clarity and just where you're going to go relative to Clarity end of life, which eventually will be coming online. And actually, I should just say before I forget, for the record, there was a communication from IBM that Clarity end of life was going to be 5 years from the release of Clarity 7.2.0, which was September 2011. That would take us to September 2016 was going to be the last day of support no matter what version you're on for Clarity. IBM has since retracted that statement, and so at this point IBM has formally communicated to us that there is no end-of-life date specifically set for Clarity, but they have made it very clear that while we haven't set an end of support for Clarity, what we are doing with it is basically keeping it alive. We're not adding enhancements. We're keeping it alive for customers. So I'm glad I just got that out just for the record, and certainly if there's any questions about that, please put them into the chat. I'd be happy to answer that. Okay, so status number 3, those of you that are on FixPack 2, that was 20% of you that are there. You no doubt, you've been keeping up with the FixPacks, and so you'll be looking for FixPack 3, should that be coming out in a little bit. You may have upgraded to the Excel 2013 FixPack that came out last year, but again, easy upgrade. But still just wanting to keep in mind that there is an end of life eventually coming on Clarity, and just kind of what your plans will be for that. So option 1, and what we're going to talk about now for the rest of the webinar, certainly for everyone on the call, you do have the option of getting to the latest FixPack and continuing along your Clarity path, and we enjoy helping clients do that, and we're happy to continue to help folks with that. The issue, of course, is the longer you stay on Clarity, the higher the risk becomes, and not only the risk of any kind of downside issue, but also the risk of missing out on really what the latest and greatest capabilities are in the financial planning, budgeting, and forecasting arenas of technology. IBM has been investing an awful lot in Cognos, and there's a lot of capabilities that are in these new versions that are not in Clarity right now. So these just, all it means is you're using an older product without the latest enhancements, and we're all aware of the speed of technology increase. And so at some point, you're missing out on those efficiencies. That's not to say that it depends on the client where you're at, but definitely keep that in mind. We're going to talk about IBM Cognos TM1, the enterprise-wide solution from IBM for budgeting, planning, and forecasting. And we're going to talk about, at the end, about the licensing equivalency and also the options of cloud and on-premise for folks. Concert is becoming mainstream for cloud options, and that's another option. It can be confusing because there are a lot of options, and so we'll try and just take you through those today. The third option, IBM Cognos Express, and this we're going to talk about whether, if you're moving off of Clarity, what makes sense, Cognos TM1 or Cognos Express. And for some clients, as we do the analysis with them, it becomes very clear that one option or the other can be tremendously beneficial, and one option doesn't make sense. Certainly for Cognos Express, you have to be under 100 users to be using Cognos Express, and it's going to give you a lot of capabilities of Cognos planning, the TM1 power, as well as business intelligence. However, you do have the restriction of just 100 users, and the incentives that we're going to talk about under TM1 don't exist for Express. But again, it depends upon your current situation, number of users, what you're paying for your maintenance on Clarity right now, and how that's positioned can determine which way is best for you to go. And we have experience in helping a number of clients with that. So from a Cognos perspective, you may have seen this pictorial wheel before. And I've inserted the words TM1 in there under Cognos Enterprise, because really what you have is you have Cognos Insight, which is a standalone individual product that allows you to do business intelligence and planning. And that is Cognos Insight gets installed on your desktop and allows you to do that on your desktop. Cognos Express really is installed on the server, accessible to everybody in the organization with a maximum of 100 users on it. And then you can grow from there up to Cognos Enterprise, which is really Cognos TM1 for the planning portion of the solution to cover off what you're doing right now with Clarity. So really what we're talking about is Express or Enterprise, and for the record, Cognos Insight as that individual product, that comes automatically with your licensing for Express or Enterprise. So you do get Cognos Insight along for the ride when you go to either Express or to Enterprise. So I'm moving along quickly. Want to make sure we give time here for Bob to show you things. When we're talking about Cognos Express, we're talking about a mid-market package solution by IBM that gives you, under the covers, all of the budgeting, forecasting, and planning consolidation capabilities in Cognos Express. Plus, it gives you the Cognos BI business intelligence capabilities as well, packaged under one product. So it becomes very efficient and very powerful for clients who have under 100 users. If you have more than 100 users, or for a variety of other reasons that we kind of touched on and can talk to you specifically about, you may need to go to Cognos TM1 from Clarity instead of Cognos Express. Cognos TM1 being the enterprise-wide budgeting, planning, and forecasting. Please know that TM1 as that solution is actually the exact same solution that's in Cognos Express. So when you're using planning in Cognos Express and doing budgeting and forecasting, you are using TM1. So the beauty is you've got all the power of the enterprise Cognos TM1 solution in Cognos Express. So you're not losing out on any power, any capabilities, essentially, or any of the effective solutions that you need in Cognos Express. You're getting a packaged solution to meet your needs, both from a financial perspective and the size of your organization. So ultimately, we're talking about going to Cognos Express or Cognos TM1 as solutions that you would move to, but under the covers, it is still Cognos TM1 that you're using. So keep that in mind. The interfaces that you have, you'll see here on the left, Excel-based interfaces. So you are able to open up Excel directly, much stronger Excel interaction and interplay than Clarity has. You actually can open up Excel, and from a drop-down in Excel, you can access your cubes and your data and you can populate right into Excel, and Bob will probably be showing that. The desktop interface is the Cognos Insight local interface, and then the managed collaboration is the browser-based zero footprint, which is called TM1 Web, and that is more analogous to what you're used to in Clarity. So you open up your browser, and you have full access to all the capabilities, and you don't have to have anything installed on your system. A lot more powerful features than currently in Clarity, powerful workflow integrated in, as well as the browser-based capability here for doing this requires nothing installed on your desktop. Some of you may have been having problems with Clarity and new versions of the browser and things not being compatible. That goes away with TM1. Not only is it supported for all the latest versions of the browser, but there's nothing to be installed. So you don't, it becomes much more easier to manage and install for organizations. So those are the three key interfaces, whether you opt to move to Express or TM1, depending on which is most effective for you. For Express, again, all of the capabilities for planning and budgeting, as well as BI reporting. What you actually purchase when you go to Express is it's by seat by user, and you can either get individual users that are planning users, and so that gives users the write-back capability that you're used to in Clarity for planning, budgeting, and forecasting, or you can purchase the capabilities, which is about less than half the price for just a reporter user, and that gives them kind of the BI query and reporting, but they don't have the write-back capabilities that's essential for individual organizations and department heads to enter their budgets and push them back to the database. You need the planner capability for that. Or what is often the case when we're bringing this into clients is you can buy what's called a complete user. And a complete user gives you, of course, all the capabilities of planner plus all the capabilities of reporter. So Cognos Express, you get a server component, and then your individual users either are complete users, planner users, or reporter users, depending on the functionality that you need. So often what we find is you're going to have the key individuals, maybe the department heads, key managers have planner user capability, and then perhaps you have many other people who have reporting capability to the same data. And that's, in a quick nutshell, how Cognos Express works. When you go to Cognos TM1, you have the option of TM1 on-premise, installed in your environment, no doubt the way you have Clarity installed, or you can go to TM1 Cloud, completely hosted and managed by IBM, and you therefore don't need to buy a server, you don't need to purchase and support it with your IT resources. It's all managed by IBM and supported on the cloud with all the same capabilities as if it was in your own data center. There is an interface called IBM Concert that you may or may not have heard of, and it is a very slick, this is what you're looking at here on this screen, customizable interface called Concert on top of TM1 Cloud. So if you go to TM1 Cloud, typically users will pick up Concert as well, and it gives you powerful capabilities on your mobile phone, on your browsers, to see your latest updates of all of your metrics, but also gives you interactive workflow and communication amongst people in your environment. So it becomes a much more integrated planning process and capability than just simply I'm entering numbers for budgeting and planning. So that is IBM Concert, available if you were to pick up IBM TM1 on the cloud. So IBM Cognos Express, IBM Cognos TM1, just for the record, the analysts say that IBM does lead the pack. Here's two, one from Forrester and one from Nucleus, showing that IBM really is the leader in the financial performance management space. And that's the space we're talking about. Your Clarity7 is in financial performance. And so when we think about Cognos TM1, Cognos Express, financial performance space, and ranks above the other organizations in its capabilities. And that's kind of just something to keep in mind as you consider a move when the time is right from Clarity to Cognos, is you're jumping into so many more features and capabilities to drive the value of your planning process, and the analysts will attest to that. So I just wanted to make that clear. All right, just a couple of slides to introduce the underlying planning process within TM1 and Express to you, and then I'm going to turn it over to Bob. So compared to Clarity, this actually is a chart compared to the earlier versions of TM1, but the same is true compared to Clarity. You're going to notice in a conversion from Clarity to TM1 or Cognos Express, you're going to notice higher performance. Things are going to work a lot faster and run a lot faster due to the client-server installations, due to the underlying technology, the way it was programmed, as well as within the TM1 environment, it's divided into multiple cubes as opposed to generally one or two large cubes that you have in Clarity. All of that's going to come together to give you much better performance either within your environment or across a wide area network. You're going to have a lot better capabilities for measurement, for reporting and analytics. You are going to have scorecards and strategy maps and a lot more intuitive ways of driving your plans and measuring your plans on day-to-day environments. You're going to have better engagement. There's tools, obviously with the cloud, you have Concert, but without the cloud, there are other things built into TM1 to enable better communication, better workflow, better locking mechanisms, all of that capability within the TM1 capability, and then lastly, deployment options for cloud and on-premise. So some of the performance things, this is the way they're programmed for web users, and things that have been improved. We won't go into that right now. Well, one of them is the Java component. So your TM1 web is all Java-based, which gets back to my point of there's nothing to be installed on your desktops and fully accessible through the latest browsers, whether it's IE, Chrome, Firefox, etc., designed to give better performance and have access to it. So you're looking at a screen here of TM1 Web, and you can see here how you have access to the numbers and to charts, etc. there. Okay, on the measurement side, there are a number of capabilities for scorecarding and performance beyond just numerical data. And so really that's this kind of a chart here on the right. And I'll just going to pop up one. If you see the middle screen there, you see how it has about 3/4 of the way down in the metrics, geography, dimension, etc. Then it says scorecard dimension. So what you're actually able to do is take an existing cube and say create a scorecard dimension, and it will then create the capabilities for the stoplight type reporting within your existing cubes. And for the standard method, it's as simple as turning that option on and getting that stoplight capability within TM1. And so that's going to help as you do your analysis and get better reporting for individuals. Scorecarding can be taken a lot further with TM1. Again, all built into the capabilities. Not only do you have the charts, or data-based charts, the charts at the bottom, but you've got these tree flow diagrams as well that will help you understand the economics of what's happening with your numbers. And this capability all built into TM1. On the engagement side, a number of the environments that will just kind of buzz through quickly. We're running out of time. The Excel interface. So here you can see this is a screenshot of Excel opened up, and then you can see the tab IBM Cognos, and you then have full access to all your dimensions and drag and drop within Excel, and those Excel reports can be built up in Excel and then actually posted to the server. And so your new mechanism of building reports within TM1, one way to build those reports is physically to build them in Excel and then post them to the TM1 server. So right now you're learning Clarity Studio if you're on version 7, and and that's how you build reports. Well, under TM1, you can build them in Excel, which is pretty exciting. And then, of course, you can do your analysis in Excel and pull your data in there, add extra columns, do your own variances, completely flexible for your analysis. Within TM1, you have the mobile capability inherently in it. You can pull up your data in your mobile phone, on your tablets, for people on the run. And not only is it for reporting, but you actually, if you turn it on, you can have your end users actually input new budget numbers and reforecasts. Capability exists from the mobile capability as well. So the mobile comes along with the solution and becomes very effective for folks. And then lastly, the on-premise and on-cloud option for TM1 that we can talk about later. It comes with an underlying capability for building models, building your cubes, and for building your templates without programming. And I'm not sure if we're going to show that today or have time. An operations console for showing you how to manage your servers, where the performance is of your servers, which becomes a strong administrative tool for your end users. In the movement to TM1, we are a unique supplier of something called CubeDocs to the North American marketplace. And CubeDocs automatically goes in and creates a pictorial of your model, your interrelationship of all your cubes, and allows you to automatically document your full model without having to manually document it, and helps with ongoing analysis and variance changes, etc., within your model. So even more efficiencies that we're able to bring to our clients with CubeDocs, and happy to show that separately. We actually are running a webinar, I think on the 25th of this month, on CubeDocs for TM1. And so we wouldn't normally send that to Clarity clients, but if you're interested in that, please just let us know, and we're happy to send you a link to that webinar on CubeDocs. Cognos Disclosure Management, of course, if you have heard of that, we referenced that earlier. Once you're onto the Cognos platform, this becomes integrated into your underlying database and helps you with your financial reporting in a collaborative workflow. Very quickly, the incentives. If you have IBM Clarity7, all your full use licenses are converted at no charge to TM1 performance management licenses. So you need to continue paying only a portion of your current Clarity7 maintenance and support. You purchase TM1 server licenses, and then you can use both indefinitely and continue on that. We have had some clients who we have converted from Clarity7 to TM1. They're continuing to use Clarity, actually. They have ownership of TM1 now, and their maintenance has dropped by over 50% because of a unique situation there, which could apply to you, and we're happy to analyze that for you and let you know what happens with that. So if you move to TM1, you have to buy the server, but your licenses, end user licenses, come for free. So if you have 40 Clarity7 licenses, you get 40 TM1 PM performance management licenses. Some of you are on the unlimited licensing on Clarity7, and there's some ways of maximizing that out under TM1 as well. We're happy to talk to you about that. It can become very cost effective for some clients. However, for others, TM1 might not make sense, and it may be more cost effective to go to Cognos Express, and that's unique to each situation, and we're happy to discuss that with you. From a Clear Insight perspective, back in November of 2014, IBM sent a letter to a number of Clarity clients. Some of you might have received that, or your point person at your organization, where IBM announced a partnership with us specifically because of our track record in working with North American customers on Clarity and Cognos. And so there were special incentives up until December 30th for clients, Clarity7 clients, to be able to transition to TM1 and Cognos. And so we were able to take a number of clients along that and leverage those incentives. And we are open to discussing these incentives while they are no longer in play generally. For those of you that are on the webinar, we're interested and happy to talk to you about those incentives to see what would apply to you now and make that available exclusively to those that are on this webinar. Okay, at last, Bob, I am turning it over to you. Sorry I took up more time. Seeing is believing, so I'm going to turn it over to Bob now.
Thanks, Ian. That was a great job, and you covered a lot of stuff in a short period of time there. I think that there's a lot to go through, and I think going through getting that breadth of everything is very important, so I'm glad you get a chance to go through that. So before I go into the demo, just a bit of housekeeping. Please enter questions into the chat. I'll try and monitor that, and I'm happy to get as technical as everyone would like. What I'm going to focus on today is really comparisons of TM1 to Clarity. And when I say TM1 is synonymous with Cognos Express for our purposes today. It's the same underlying technology regardless of which product. It's just licensing limits and restrictions on different pieces. And what I want to do is I want to focus on some of what I think is cool stuff coming from a Clarity perspective. Because I'm Heritage Clarity. I worked for Clarity for a number of years and came over to through IBM and now with Clear Insight. So I've been working with Clarity for a long time, and I think some of the stuff I've seen going from Clarity to TM1 may help you with that same transition. So on that note, kind of thinking about going from Clarity 6 to TM1 or Cognos Express. Especially if you're going from some 6, and I know this is about 40% or so of folks are in that could be in that boat, is you're going to skip the learning curve for Clarity Studio. And if you're comfortable with Template Builder, you're already comfortable with building stuff in Excel, and Excel is where everything happens. So you don't need to learn a new tool for building templates or reports. It's going to stay in Excel, and we'll look at that together today. You also skip template rewrites. So for folks that are kind of maybe wondering, do I go from 6 to Clarity 7 or do I go to TM1? Going from Clarity 6 to Clarity 7, to really take advantage of some of the features in Clarity 7, you'll need to rewrite some of your templates. And if you're going to go through the investment to rewrite some of those templates, I mean, my opinion, and I'll preface what I'm saying with this, a lot of this is my opinion, but if you're going to go through the investment to rewrite some of these templates to take advantage of new features, you might as well do it on the latest and greatest technology that's out there. I also like that there's a strong community support for TM1 and the Cognos Express community. We'll look a little bit at some of those resources today, but the RAVE visualizations. I mean, if for folks that have fought with Visualizer in the past and tried to put together dashboards and strategy maps and that kind of thing, there's a lot of power and flexibility, and the range of what you can do with graphics and charts now is incredible. And with the analyticszone.com website, you don't need to feel like you're the only one doing it. There's examples and walkthroughs, and there's a good support knowledge base there where you can get that help to build out your first one and try a couple of new ideas. And coming from again, from really any version of Clarity, part of the value in Clarity was that it really was an Excel experience, or even Excel over the web experience, and that's completely consistent with what we have in Cognos Express, along with the flexible designs. Like Ian was saying, you can work on the desktop, on the web, on your mobile. You can do workflow. It's much more maintainable. There's lots of pluses to make that move. And then last but not least, there's no ActiveX anymore. Everything's Java, which runs on billions of devices. So getting into the nitty-gritty of it, a common question I get for folks that are coming from the Clarity world is, how do I build a template in TM1? So, in Clarity 6, or I guess in Clarity 7, you use Clarity Studio, and Clarity 6 you use Template Builder. You got to plan out your query, you got to test it out, and then you go through the kind of a development experience, iteratively, to try and build that out before you can really use it effectively. Here in TM1, you just navigate a cube, you slice it into Excel, and you're pretty much done. So this is something that I know no one ever believes, so let's take a look at that together. So here we are. Most people will recognize this. We're just in Excel. And the only difference here is I see a new little ribbon for TM1. I click on my little ribbon. I see I've got a host of things to help me do whatever task I'm working towards doing. And at the beginning of a report development, maybe you're not too sure what you want to start with. So there's an Explore button for that. So I'm going to go start exploring the cubes I have access to. So I got a nice little window. Okay, I have access to my TM1 server, and I can see my cubes, see different dimensions. For folks that are, interested in the, I guess the data warehousing perspective, it really does follow the conform dimensions approach, which really it's a best practice for a variety of reasons. So these dimensions can be reused across cubes. But let's look at what we have access to. So these are all the cubes I have access to. I can get detailed, which dimensions are in each one. But really, I'm taking off my techie hat for a moment, saying, I just got a report I got to get done. It's a study I've done today. So I go into my finance cube. I'm looking at data already. So this is a fully active data browser. This is the data that's sitting there on the server in my cube. And you know what? I can play with the different slicers here. Maybe I want total year or a particular year. Maybe I want to look at the notes. Maybe I'm looking at a different scenario. There's lots of stuff here in this dimension. Maybe I'm curious what's in there. I can double click it, and I get a listing of what that dimension looks like, including hierarchies, and it supports native alternate hierarchies. If you've got one set of hierarchies that may be for statutory or then some for operational, you can set that all up completely native, no custom coding required. Coming from the Clarity world has been a huge pain point for some folks. But let's say that I've sliced and diced this cube view review until I get something that I like. So how do I make it into a report? Well, there's a handy dandy little button here that says slice. So I click slice, and now I've got my data in Excel. I don't have to set my column ranges or row ranges or anything like that. It's all done. And if I come in here and I look at the formula, you'll see it's just an Excel formula. I can highlight it. It'll tell me what are the different pieces of it. But really, this DBRW is going to tell me all the things I need to know to grab a number from a cube and send it back. So if I just type in a number over that formula that you saw, that saved it back to the cube. I don't need to hit save. I don't need to check write back tables. I don't need to worry about any of that stuff. I'm purely in Excel. I've got a report, and now I can spend as long as I like working on the formatting to make it look as pretty as it needs to be. I can come in here and I can change these titles. Maybe I don't like the word D year, so I'll just call it year. Let's call this measure. Call this scenario. Call this account. Maybe I want to apply some formatting to this. So I'll just select it like I would a regular grid in Excel. I can come in here and I can say I want to format it as a table. Format that as a table. Say it's got headers. That's it. Done. So formatting can take as long as you like, but just as quickly as I was able to go into Explorer and pull in the data set, I'm done. And let's say I wanted to publish this. Maybe I'm not comfortable giving out Excel files to my group. Because keep in mind, I could work with this just here in Excel. I could send this Excel file to someone. When they open it up, it will connect into TM1 to pull the latest and greatest numbers. And if they don't have access to the data we're looking at, it'll be zeroed. So it's a completely consistent security model, regardless of what client you're looking at. So it's quite powerful in itself that we're just talking about we're working completely in Excel, and I can work in Excel or I can work over the web. But let's look at the web piece for a minute. So let's say I go back to my TM1 ribbon, and I'm going to upload this to my application. Oh, I already have something about book 2. I'm just going to save this as, well, let's be very creative and call it book 3. Put this put it into here. So now, so far we've only been in Excel. I've been talking a little bit about the web piece, but I haven't necessarily shown you what this looks like over the web. So let's take a look at that now. If I flip over here into Firefox, And that's right, I don't need to use Internet Explorer anymore. I can use Firefox, Chrome, IE. Hell, I mean, you could probably use Opera and Safari if you really wanted to, because it's all standard HTML to and from the server. So I go to my URL, I log in, I can get a listing of what content I have access to, I can get a listing of which actions I'm permitted to do. Really, for my purposes, I just want to go into TM1 Web and I want to see what I just posted, or just published. So, the credit union. And notice I don't see this here because I'm logged into someone else. The security model is such that you can be very clear about who has access to what. Just as you have menu permissions, menu item permissions in Clarity, the same idea happens here. So when I permit this one here, I'll go and refresh my screen, there it shows. So here I am over the web. I see all the same layout. But why don't I see any numbers? I don't see any numbers because I don't have permission to see them. So again, it's that consistent security model. If I'm logged in as a different person here on the web, this is someone that doesn't have access. So they can still see the layout, but they don't see the numbers. So the obvious question will be, well, how come I can't see the numbers? Well, it's, again, security. So going back to here, so this is really trying to answer the question, how to build a template in TM1. So in Clarity, you need the Clarity Studio, you got a plan and query. In TM1, you're just navigating a cube, you slice it to Excel, and then you're done. You play with formatting as much as you like, and it's a much more fluid experience. Another common question I get is, how is ETL different? So, in traditional Clarity applications, some folks are probably using Essbase, some folks are using analysis services, and there's SSIS packages or batch files running all over the place. So TM1 can use that same stuff. If you've already got something working and you don't want to play with it, fine, just let it keep running. But we also have an ability to build these processes that are really can address cube-specific pieces. So if you want to say, take this number from this one spot, spread it over here, copy it over to this spot, you can create processes that do that. And it doesn't need to be a scope statement that is always there. It's the kind of thing like you put a command button somewhere, it only runs when you need it to run, or when you choose for it to run. So these are cube-specific tools referencing individual cells, and they can loop through dimension subsets, cube views, and SQL queries. So ETL it can be the same, but it's just extended. There's more things that are available now. How are cubes managed is another common question I get and there's performance modeler and there's architect. And I thought, well, let's look at adding a new account. In the Clarity world, that's a pretty common thing to do. So what does that look like here? Well, if I go looking at my cube definition here, I apologize if it's small on the screen. I don't have the magnifier open right now. But let's say I have my account dimension, which I see it right there. And I can see, well, I've got subsets in here. Subsets are, for maybe I want to be very clear that if I'm talking about expense accounts, it's this set, or income accounts, or that set. I double click it, I'll get a listing of those different accounts. So rather than having this kind of stuff hard-coded into a template, I create this thing called a subset, and then wherever I need to talk about my income accounts, I'm guaranteed that I'm talking about the same set of income accounts. But here we want to add an account. So I want to edit the structure, and obviously this would be something that only an administrator could do, or correctly, rightly permissioned. I come in here and say I want to add a new liquid asset account. So I'm going to insert a child, call it blah. Done. I click OK, and that's it. So that's how easy it is to create an account, and that applies to really any dimension. So there's no cube manager tool to go through to do that anymore. This is done through native tools here in TM1. It's got that, again, that unified security model, so if folks don't have access to go in to be creating stuff, they're not able to do that. So looking at my time, I've got a few minutes left. I don't see any questions in the chat right now. If there are on anything I've done so far, please add them in there. I'll address them as we go through the last little bits here. For end user support, that's another common question I get. Because TM1 Web is a zero footprint tool, it makes end user support quite a bit easier. As long as someone has a web browser, they're good. They're done. Now you might want to expand that a bit so that folks want to use Excel. They need a plugin for that, which again is a very quick install. It's not a difficult thing to support. But I can't reiterate this enough, is they all interact with the same TM1 security model. So you can be confident that no matter what's going on, you don't have security breaches. You don't have a case where someone, they forgot to click use hierarchy security on a template, and the numbers get changed when they shouldn't have. So how technical is this stuff? In the interest of time, I'm not going to be able to go into all the detail we have here. This might be content for a future webinar. But suffice it to say, the stack is very much the same. The only thing would be, I would say, it's an extension. You're still going to have your applications, you're still going to have your ETL, you're still going to have your logic, but you've got a little more flexibility. We've got rules, and we've got rules in here. We can put in business rules right into the tool. Have alternate hierarchy support as native functionality. There's no challenge from a technical perspective. If folks are comfortable with the idea of ETL, you're moving data from one spot to another and maybe make some transformations to it along the way. It's the same premise. So I want to leave a little bit of time. Actually, okay. Since I don't see any questions on the chat, maybe I'll go right to time. But Ian, feel free to jump in and cut me off if you want to do.
I think we're coming close, Bob, to the top of the hour, and there was a couple of questions in there, I think. So if there's one or two things you just need to finish up, but then we should leave a few minutes for questions.
Perfect, perfect. So I'll just mention that we also have a YouTube channel. So there's some videos on there for some stuff on both Cognos exposure management and TM1, as well as some good Clarity videos there, and as well as folks who need some help around that stuff. But let's switch gears here. What are the questions here?
Okay, so Susan, I'll turn it over to Susan. Susan, you can maybe let us know what the questions are. Maybe they're for Bob, or maybe they're for me.
Hello, everyone. Yes, there is a question, and the question is there a conversion utility from IBM? And if not, what is involved in transitioning my Clarity solution to TM1?
Great question. So the short answer is no, there's not a migration utility that you just click next, 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 and all your templates and reports are built in TM1. But what that process really looks like is you examine the ETL. Is there anything you want to improve, update, or change? Some stuff, if you have no need to modify the process of moving data around, you can reuse a lot of what you already have. For templates and reports, you already have them. If you go into Clarity right now, you can open anything you have there in Excel and save that as an Excel file. So you really open all templates in Excel, and then you create cube links to the TM1 data model. And once you've got that, you just publish that to TM1 Web. So I am simplifying it a bit. There's going to be complexity for each person and each organization depending on your process and your data. But at a high level, really, you just make sure that we've got the right plumbing when it comes to the data already. We're going to open up the templates in Excel from Clarity, and we're going to relink that to the data model in TM1, and then publish that to the web. So that's what that one looks like. Hope that addresses your question. Feel free to ask a follow-up there if it didn't. I'm having trouble seeing the questions. Susan, was there another one there?
Nope, I think we're done with the questions right now. Ian, did you want to just...
There was one more question there that I saw, and the question was, can you join multiple cubes in reports and templates?
Great question. I'll write that one down here. Multiple cubes and templates. So yes, you finally can. You can not only can you have multiple cubes and templates, you can have multiple relational queries. They can be coming from different tables and different cubes. So I know from people coming from Clarity6 are going to be happy to hear that because that was a limitation of only one relational query. In Clarity7, you could have multiple relational queries. It was still fairly, I'd still say it's fairly complex in comparison to TM1, but the flexibility in TM1 trumps any of the Clarity versions that I've worked with, where you can pull from any cube or any relational table in the same template. And what's actually a little quite neat is in Clarity, you really only had one active sheet. So when you publish something to the web, it was really just that one, usually sheet one of some report, and you'd hide tabs on that. Here in TM1, you can actually publish the whole workbook. So if you have, 2 or 3 tabs as part of one workbook that really have stuff that all works together, you could publish the whole workbook, all 3 tabs. And then folks work with whichever tab makes the most sense, flipping between tabs just as you would in Excel. And that works over the web and in Excel natively. So it's quite a more, I think, in my humble opinion, it's a more rich experience.
All right, thanks, Bob. And I think that is most of the questions that we could see, but certainly you can. I'm just going to take back control here for a second, Bob.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully folks can see my screen there. And so bottom line, you have an option to get yourself to what hopefully will be coming out shortly, FixPack 3, if you're going to stay out of Clarity for a while. If you are undertaking investigations or wondering what your options are, or you want to take options to senior management, I would be more than happy to kind of have a quick chat with you and kind of clarify some of the specifics for your environment. And it's not too difficult for me as well to give you some estimated prices. Specifically because it's not just a matter of getting a price on the software, it's because of the licensing equivalency, it's related to your current maintenance contracts on Clarity, and so there's a lot of things that come into play, but we've got a lot of experience with that, so I'm happy to touch base with any of you if you want to, if you're interested for yourself or to take it up the line to senior management to kind of put a little package around for you of what could be done so you have an idea of what the costs are moving forward. Whether you're thinking about doing that in the near term or whether it's for the long term, you would do well just to have a little bit of a plan in place. And so we're happy to help you with that, depending on which way you want to go, and even if you need help just getting to FixPack 3. And if you're staying on Clarity, as we've been talking to some Clarity clients, you do want to think about getting a support contract. I've had clients reach out to me saying, IBM really is losing their knowledge base on Clarity, and it's really with partners such as Clear Insight that the knowledge base now lies. And so if you are staying on Clarity, we'd be happy to share with you what would be involved in a way that we could support you to keep you going and during your transition. We have a solution called Discovery where we can come in and take a look at what you have, a little more finer detail. We're happy to do that. And so hopefully this was of value to you. I recognize the time. Thank you for all joining and staying along. Please don't hesitate to reach out to myself, Ian Margerison at Clear Insight, or if you don't remember that, info@clearinsight.ca. And we look forward to touching base with each of you, and hopefully this was of value. So thank you very much for your time today, and look forward to having you come along again on another one of our webinars. And so we will shut down the webinar now. Thank you very much.